Welcome to episode 4 of Mineocast. So today is going to be a quick one. We are going to talk about the Dolphins Bills recap from yesterday and the Bengals Bills preview for Sunday's divisional playoff game. To say the least, a lot of people are saying the Bills laid an egg, but you know what? So did Cincinnati. They didn't look much better than the Bills did. And, all this talk about the Bills not playing so well yesterday, let's just give them a little bit of a break. They played the Miami Dolphins. Granted, the Miami Dolphins were limping into the playoffs. They're on their third string quarterback. This excuse, that excuse, blah, 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 blah. We're forgetting that the Miami Dolphins played us 3 times. Really close games that literally could have gone either way. All 3 of them. The hot weather game in Miami earlier in the year, the game in Buffalo, and then the playoff game yesterday. All 3 of those games were difficult. They were not easy wins by any means, any stretch of the imagination. But for some reason, the media wants to put it all on Buffalo and Josh Allen. Those 2 interceptions weren't even Josh Allen's fault. I mean, they were tipped balls, and they ended up being intercepted. How do you put that on Josh Allen as that's his fault? The fumble, yeah, you could argue that, but he didn't even see the blitz coming. I mean, that's exactly the way you want to play it if you're a defense. So all this talk about, the Bills and Allen, making mistakes yesterday, I don't want to say it was so much the mistakes of the Buffalo Bills and so much of the Dolphins going in there and making plays. They did exactly what they needed to do to try to win that football game yesterday, and they almost did it. One of the things that they didn't really talk about in the media is that the Bills offense pretty much went up and down the field whenever they felt like it. Yeah, there were a couple 3-and-outs. There were a couple opportunities there for Miami to cash in. But ultimately, when the Bills got their feet under them and then decided to drive the ball down the field and score points, they did so. I don't think the Bills themselves were in fear of losing that football game. I think they were, yeah, we could do better, absolutely, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that in the moment they were afraid to lose that football game. I don't think that was on their minds at all. They were completely content with getting the ball back, and if they had to go down the field and score, they would have done that, and I'm pretty sure they would have done that. But that doesn't mean that my nerves were not on fire for 3 quarters of that football game. From the second quarter on, I was pacing back and forth. I was cursing at the TV. I did everything that a fan would do during the playoffs when your team is not playing up to what your expectation level is. I really did expect the Bills to come out there and just completely hammer the Miami Dolphins 42-6. I really did. I thought that it was on, and the Bills were going to show clearly that they are the team to be in the AFC and whatnot. But that wasn't what happened, and it wasn't just the Bills game. It was all the wild card games, and we still have one more left in about 90 minutes. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, the Miami Dolphins did this and the Bills didn't do that. I mean, the Miami Dolphins came to play an inspired football game, and they were almost blown out of the park. But they got their feet under them. They moved the ball a little bit. They were able to play some okay defense there. They forced turnovers that directly resulted into points. I mean, you could say if Tua was there, it would have been different. But you know what? If the Bills would have played them differently if Tua was there, the Bills kind of had a conservative game plan as soon as they got a big lead, and it showed. It did bother me that the Bills didn't run the ball very well, or they didn't run the ball at all much of the game. Devin Singletary only had 10 carries for 48 yards. That is a pretty good game, but he didn't touch the ball enough. If he touches the ball 20 times, that's almost 100 yards rushing, and that game is completely different. We have yet to spend an entire football game or even a half where Devin Singletary is the focal point of our offense. The man has capabilities. Problem is he fumbles at the worst possible times. He doesn't even fumble that often. I think I only seen him fumble once or twice this year, which isn't terrible. But it just happens at the worst possible moment, and you tend to remember that. But he is a guy that if you formulate a game plan around him, he can hurt you and hurt you bad. You saw what he could do on the ground, and you see what he could do as a receiver. Cook is just as good. But Cook has that step in the ground and then full speed. It's a little different running style, but they absolutely bounce off each other very, very well. Just the Buffalo Bills' offensive game plan hasn't been to run the football, and I really think that we need to kind of focus a little bit on the running game so those deep balls, those deep crossing patterns are a little bit more open. So I mean, the performance, yeah, it wasn't bad, but you know what? The Bengals played like shit last night too. I mean, I really thought they were going to lose that game up until the mismanaging of the 2 minute drill. You got a minute and 35 seconds to go in the game, and you're huddling, and you need a touchdown to win. I get it. You don't want to give Cincinnati any time, but your defense literally dominated them for 3 quarters of football. They couldn't do anything on offense. They couldn't even protect Burrows anymore. Their offensive line is so terribly beat up that I think the Bills might actually have an opportunity here to really, really kind of make this a tough, tough football game for the Cincinnati Bengals. We will see what happens on Sunday, and as the week progresses and more information comes out and interviews and all that stuff starts to break forward. But right now, the over-under is about 50 points, and the Bills are favored by 4.5 points. I think that's very, very fair. Will it be a high-scoring game? Probably. Will the game be decided by less than a touchdown? Probably. Doesn't mean that it will happen, but I like to think that probable and probably still kind of mean the same thing. So until that definition has been changed by cancel culture, Karen, Kevin, or whoever is in charge of changing definitions, seems to be a lot of people these days, I'm going to stick with probable means probably. So probably it's going to be a close game. Probably it's going to be a shootout, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be. And the weather can turn before then. We don't even know. I mean, like they make weather reports in Buffalo like they make weather reports down here in Southwest Florida, where it's going to be sunny and hot today, and then it ends up being rainy and overcast all day. So yeah, who knows? But needless to say, my nerves were completely shot, and I was emotionally done after that game. I did sit through the Giants game. I did sit through the Baltimore game, but I was exhausted mentally. That just took so much out of me. Having to have the Bills almost lose their second home playoff game ever to a lesser team, that would have been nuts. So yeah, I mean, the Bengals did not play well yesterday. The Bills did not play well yesterday, but they did play well enough to win, and the defense actually did a really good job. Were they bend but don't break all day? Pretty much. And that usually is kind of sort of the consensus of our defense, is that we don't dominate games. We don't shut people out like we did last year. We didn't dominate a lot of people last year either, but we did beef up our defense this year. We've had really great stretches where our defense looked lights out, and we've had stretches where you have to bite your fingers and wonder if the Bills are going to give up something at a really, really bad time. Like I said, Josh Allen's interceptions, I didn't think were his fault. Josh Allen was 23 of 39 for 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And you take those 2 interceptions away and that fumble for a touchdown away, and that game is a completely different game. Josh Allen has been a freaking alien when it comes to the playoffs the last couple of years. Pretty much since he screwed up that play in the Houston wildcard game a couple of years ago, he pretty much has been very, very good statistically. Of course, the Bills have lost, the last 3 years they left the season on a playoff loss. Absolutely. But they were beaten by 2 good Chiefs teams and that Houston wildcard game. Speaking of the Chiefs, they got a tough test in Jacksonville. And you know what? I like Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville a lot. They play fast defense. They can run the football a little bit. But their quarterback looks really, really good for a second-year guy. I mean, he's basically a rookie because he had that other guy, Meyer, as a coach last year, and that guy is the most immature grown-up I've ever seen in the NFL. Notice no one's even brought up his name. That's how laughable he was as an NFL head coach. If he can't go anywhere without some kind of like drama or rumors that he's cheating or something along those lines. So I don't know what kind of credibility he has as a coach anymore. I hope he stays away from football altogether. If he wants to broadcast, great. I think he's a good broadcaster. But if he's coaching people on how to be winners, I don't think he's a good example of a human being to show you how to do that. So let's stay away from Urban Meyer as a football coach moving forward, America. I think it's a good idea. But yeah, Jacksonville's playing lights out right now, and they just got that vibe, man. They got that weird vibe that you just can't count them out, and I think they might actually have a shot to upset Kansas City this weekend. But we'll see. We'll see. And I say that because I kind of sort of want Jacksonville in Buffalo AFC title game, and I'll say that because it has nothing to do with the team being a little weaker, that they're an easy defeat. They're clearly not easy to beat. Clearly. I say this because I'm a history buff when it comes to the NFL, and the Buffalo Bills are 0-2 against Jacksonville in playoffs. That's right, 0-2. We lost to them in 2016 or 17, and Jim Kelly's final game was a playoff game, wild card game. To our only loss in the playoffs at home was against Jacksonville. So I would love to get some revenge on those guys. It would be awesome to see that. More than likely, if we beat the Bengals this weekend, we're going to play the Chiefs. That's the probably scenario there, the probable scenario, but I'd love to see Jacksonville. That would be just kind of sweet, I think. How we fare against the Bengals, I think we'd fare pretty well. I think the Bengals are really beat up. They're beat up like we were beat up a couple of weeks ago. And if they can't protect Joe Burrows, they're not going to get past Buffalo. You saw in the beginning of the season when they were just getting that offensive line in sync. You saw how it was kind of they were struggling big time on offense, and they're kind of showing those signs now. Can they still move it up and down the field? Absolutely. Absolutely. They're dangerous. Chase is nasty. I don't know how we're going to cover his ass, to be honest. I really don't. But I really hope that Leslie Frazier plans a lot like he did for this game, where we're going to intermix the blitz. We're going to time that blitz just right. I think that's our best case scenario on defense. I think we could shut them down. I really do. I just don't know if we're going to. But I think we fare much better against this Bengals team right now than we did on Monday night a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying that we would have lost that game. That game was going to be a shootout, and you could tell by the way it was going that both teams are going to go up and down the field at will. So yeah. I did write a blog this week. It was fitness related, and we'll probably do a blog about that probably this week, maybe. I'm thinking. I don't know how much fitness stuff you guys want to get into. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there with some bullshit about fitness, usually sponsored by some whatever vitamin supplement company, and that's really what I want to talk about is supplementation and just the fitness business being a hideous fashion show of itself. That I have a really big problem with people in fitness as a job. Not everybody. There's lots of great people that are in fitness as a job. Lots of them. I have a bunch of them on my Instagram that I would absolutely recommend that if you're looking for a trainer or looking for a coach or somebody who knows stuff about dieting and stuff like that, there are people that I absolutely would recommend. However, there are also many people that are just bullshit. All they care about is your money. They will virtual signal you to death via social media just to get your money. So, yeah, we'll definitely get into that. So we might actually get back into the Bills and Bengals later in the week. We'll see how the media handles it and if I pick up any tidbits. Usually my sources are Buffalo Plus. I love Buffalo Plus. They're a small little independent sports news YouTube channel, and I love their takes. And also, it's really laid back. They're great people. I mean, I would love to just hang out and talk football with them. More like a bar stool, almost like Pat McAfee show environment, where they're just chilling. They're just chilling, talking like real people. But then they go in and out of sportscaster talk, and that's fine. I'm totally good with that. But I always find that their takes are very accurate compared to, say, NFL Network and ESPN. So, Why go to these big companies and let them and pay their bills when you can pay the bills of people that actually work hard for a living and don't have shit pumped into their ear every 5 seconds? I don't know. Just a thought. Okay, so like, comment, and subscribe. I do need the support. I also need some feedback. I need people to tell me what they like about the show and what they hate about the show. We're definitely going to get into some music stuff. We're going to talk some metal eventually. Here's the big problem with my scheduling is that right now we're in the middle of the playoff run for the Buffalo Bills. I'm both a diehard Buffalo Bills fan and it is the playoffs. So my attention span is all geared up there right now. That doesn't mean that I don't think about and want to do other stuff. I absolutely do. But until football season, or at least the Bills are eliminated, my brain is kind of sort of gelling in that Bills Mafia, sports, stuff like that. So until we get there or we get eliminated, you're probably not going to see the last of this. I was going back and forth via text and Facebook with some friends about the game, and some of the responses were pretty funny. I'm not going to read any. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I thought it was really cool to talk to a few people that I don't really talk to on the regular basis. That we kind of have some history in high school together, but other than that, I really don't talk to them too much. But it was really cool to talk to those people and be like, yeah, man, because everybody knows me as like Bills guy. Like I've always been like since middle school. I was wearing Buffalo Bill AFC East champions, AFC champions, represented the Super Bowl 25, 6, 7, 8. I wore those shirts for years, and I still have every single one of them put away. So everybody kind of sort of knows, like from my neighborhood, they kind of sort of know who I am and remember those times. So I love, talk a little trash, going back and forth. All in good fun, all in good fun. But yeah, that was cool. Okay, so I'm gonna check out here and like I said, comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see. If you have questions, ask. We'll get into some stuff here in the next month or so. Depends on if and when the Bills get eliminated or if we're screaming Super Bowl champs. That has a lot to do with it. All right. Talk to you all later. Ciao.